I'd like to come back to you. Now, there's a feeling of that both sides have some expectation from the other side. That Israel is supposed to, in some ways, serve as the epicenter, as you said, of Jewish life, and as Professor Eldad said, the core identity, the core national identity. And in some ways, don't you think you're expecting a bit too much from Israelis? That at the end of the day, it's a country which has quite significant challenges. It was set up, probably its raison d'etre, to be a safe haven for Jews. It wasn't set up to be the identity of Jews living in NW, whatever, here in London. And maybe there is an unrealistic expectation of Jews living here and other parts of the diaspora, of Israelis supplying them with an identity that they feel happy and calm with, while the reality is Israelis just can't supply that.
Well, the Israelis have to supply that identity to themselves as well. I mean, we're talking about a Jewish state here, and we're talking about the Jewish people as one people. So the fact that some live in Israel and some might live outside Israel doesn't take the Jewishness out of the equation. And I'm not actually setting an expectation that Israel is set up to provide a set of services to diaspora Jewry so they can solve their collective consciousness or have treatment for their schizophrenic idea about life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the very essence of what Israel actually is and why it was set up and what it's there for. It's therefore to be the place where Jews can have self-determination as a Jewish people. Now, Jewish means something. It means values. It means a collection of ideas which we all associate with. If we don't associate with those ideas and those values, then Israel is simply a place where people live who are called Israelis. They don't have to be Jews. They can be anything. And if you separate diaspora Jewry from Israel Jewry, then you simply say that Israel is a country for Israelis and the Jews are Jews. Now, I don't live like that. I see Israel as part of my core identity, and the majority of diaspora Jewry feel that as well. Now, they might not all share my political views and convictions, but they sure as hell want to be part of the debate. And when Israel shuts me off from the debate, I get really angry.
Do you feel that Israel has been shutting you off from the debate?
Israel has never allowed diaspora Jewry into the debate. Unless diaspora Jewry is prepared to sign the right check and ascribe to exactly the same principles as the government of the day ascribes to, they are not allowed into the debate. Now, I want to be part of the debate. If I have obligations to go out and defend Israel to the government of the United Kingdom, to promote activities on campus that young people can feel safe, to fight BDS, to stand up as I have stood up time and time again.
Do you feel obligated to do that?
Absolutely, I feel obligated.
From yourself, or Israel obligates
No,
you?
because I am a Jew and Israel is a Jewish state. And that's why I do it. Now, if I have the obligations to do that, whether I've taken those obligations upon myself or, in fact, it's perceived in Israel that I have those obligations, I want Israel to recognize they have obligations to me as well.
Thank you. Professor Eldad, when I presented you, I think that those perhaps in the audience who are not acquainted with your political career, when they saw a professor, a doctor, a former general, obviously an intellectual, a secular intellectual sitting here on the stage, I'm sure that at the beginning they thought, this is the Israeli that we can identify with, a man of science, a man of medicine, a man who served his country. And then perhaps when they heard also, when our publisher Amos was speaking about it, when I said that you served for right-wing parties, and then when you said a bit of your own views, maybe they felt a bit less capable of identifying with you. And I'm sure those of who perhaps quickly checked on Wikipedia and found out things that you've done in politics, even less feel capable of identifying with you. What does it feel like when you come to a place like London and you hear one of the leaders of the local community saying that basically saying that in his eyes, your values, your political ideals aren't compatible with Jewish values?
Makes me extremely sad.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
We lost huge masses of the Jewish people in the past. There's an elephant in the room. It's called intermarriage. The only community of Jews that grows in the world is the community in Israel. in other places is reducing in numbers. So I can appreciate the fact that Israel is an essential part of your identity. But the fact that you want to change your identity, demanding that we will risk our very existence by catering to the demands of giving up what you call the occupied territories, for me is my homeland, is unacceptable for me. It's nice, you want it. I appreciate members of the family that wants me to become something else. But it's different when you hope that something will happen and you expect something to happen. When you expect us to change, you become extremely frustrated when it doesn't happen because we are not going to change. We live there, we understand that creating of a Palestinian state in the heartland of Israel not only contradicts our values, but endangers our very existence. Therefore, some people would call us occupiers. And for me, there's a huge gap between looking at Israel as a self-refuge and expecting it to endanger this refuge. It makes me sad that these expectations are extremely high and you or some of you demand that Israel will give up the territories, stop building in the settlements. Okay. It happens in families. Not everyone agrees with each other, but the majority or the dominant part of the family goes on with its life. I think that the fact that we ignore the elephant in the room actually says that for the long run, we give up the existence of diaspora. Because Herzl wrote, we need a state for the Jews because of these negative forces, because of anti-Semitism, because of the Jewish problem. It's very much sad, Herzl wrote, it's very much not praiseworthy that everywhere in the world where there's not pressure over Jews not to be accepted in the society, they are assimilating. So if this is the deal, either Israel should change or we will assimilate or intermarry. As I told you in the past, we lost huge masses of the Jewish people in the past. It may happen again.
Thank you, Professor Eldad. Hannah,